What's the most real relationship advice you can give? Learning how to be bored together is important. You don't have to be on the go, doing stuff and planning stuff, and being fun and exciting all the time. It's okay to just sit around and not do anything, and not talk to each other. It's not unhealthy, I promise. In an ideal relationship, the contributions are 60-40, where both partners are the one trying to give 60%. Don't expect the other person to be able to read your mind. Be a team, not opponents. Everybody farts at some point. When you disagree, remember that you're on the same team. You're supposed to fight a problem, not the other person. Always be mindful and thoughtful to that person's love map. Like they might need a quick text every morning. When you get to work, letting them know you're safe makes zero sense to you, but knowing it's something small and means the world to them, well, why the hell not? They might get stressed out, and you helping to clean the house for when they finished work might mean more to them than someone else you've been with who wanted flowers to show love. Know what it is that your partner loves and makes them feel loved too. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you very much for whoever gave me a silver. Thank you. Thank you. It's fine to not always want to spend 100% of your time with your spouse. Not every moment of every day is going to be bliss, and sometimes it really takes some effort. I love my wife to bits, but there are some days when I would just like to do things by myself. It doesn't mean our relationship isn't great, but it can be really refreshing to just take a stroll around a shopping center, or go and get some food alone or something. There's a reason it's called the honeymoon phase, and eventually you won't have as much to talk about other than how the day went, or might not always feel those butterflies in your stomach when you think about them. That's when it becomes a test in the relationship, and you both have to work on it to make it work. You will get into fights, but learn to get over them, or I doubt it'll last. Resentment can kill feelings for someone. Edit. I wanted to add, I'm not a love or relationship expert by any means. I just going off of things I've seen and gone through with my own husband, so RIP my inbox. I also wanted to say thank you for my first ever silver and first ever gold. That was unexpected, and I really appreciate it. Listen to them. Communicate with them. Compromise sometimes. Them regularly. Your spouse isn't going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. There will be mistakes and misunderstandings. What really matters in a relationship is not being perfect, but how you handle the imperfections of yourself and your spouse in a respectful, reasonable way. Edit. Wow, my first gold. And it wasn't even on a comment about. Thank you, kind stranger. Guy here. This probably sounds simple, but here's what I've learned. Know yourself, where you're at in life. If you're in a storm, legal, money, drugs, and alcohol, legal, you're probably not ready for anything serious. Clean up your act first. Be honest. No matter how uppies, if you want to move forward in a serious way, all the cards got to be on the table. Take it slow, get to know each other, but in the end no secrets. There is some that is nobody's business, but I ain't talking about that. Know her, what she's been through, and what she wants out of life. You both need to be pretty much on board. You need to be heading for the same thing. Kids, buy a house or gypsy life, don't matter. Keep a sharp eye on things. You need to make sure she's doing okay and let her know you're doing okay. Same with her to you. After that it's just dodging stupid. Sometimes you have to spend years with people to realize what you deserve. It was never a waste. You needed the experience to figure out what works best for you or what to avoid. You'll never forget your exes. They were there for a reason. Communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built. They say don't go to bed angry, not because anger does something while you're sleeping, but because it means you didn't communicate properly and you're giving up on trying. Be calm, actively listen. Do not dismiss your partner's statements. Assume good faith. It's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. If something's bugging you, talk to your SO about it. If you feel enraged about something, wait until you're well fed, well rested, with warm extremities, before talking about it, but talk about it at the first opportunity. Calmly, rationally, and honestly. Keep the discussion limited to that one narrow thing. If something's bugging your SO, hear them out. Never think, well, I'm not bothered by that, so it's not a problem. think my SO is bothered by this, and that's a problem. If you think the concern is unreasonable, frame the discussion as solving the problem of your SO as being unhappy. The worst fights and arguments happen over trivial things, because it's not the trivial thing that's actually causing the problem. It's probably a series of things, or a general lack of satisfaction, and the toothpaste cap being left off is just the instigator of the fight. If you communicate often and openly, these things will not fester, they won't pile up, and you won't get into such fights. If you go into a marriage or long-term commitment with the impression that you'll be happy all the time, and your life will only change for the better, you are absolutely wrong. Be realistic that there will be days you won't be able to stand each other, your lives may absolutely hit rough patches, and you will not agree on how or why that situation occurred, or even how to get out of it, and the like. Go on holiday together, if you can agree on food, sleep soundly, compromise on activities, and do your own thing one of the days, and not get mad at each other, you stand a good chance of lasting a while. I love my boyfriend to bits and miss him a lot. We don't live together yet, but boy do I like sleeping on my own in bed sometimes. Space is healthy. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you have to live in each other's pockets. You have to be honest with them, especially when it's hard to do. Me and my boyfriend get uncomfortably real with each other sometimes, and something we have both learned is to listen to criticism without getting defensive. And when giving criticism, we don't attack each other, no matter how angry or sad we are at each other. I've had him call me out for certain behaviors that nobody has ever called me out on, and I've done the same for him. We are both better people for it, because when we get it all out on the table, we have no choice but to work on ourselves. Character is action. Deep character is how a person behaves under stress. An instructor told me this in a writing seminar, but it's a great real-life observation about relationships. If you have someone who keeps focused and cool under pressure, value that individual. It's a magnificent character trait. If you're together with someone who rages at minor inconveniences and finds scapegoats instead of solutions, that's a person of weak character. Most of us are somewhere in between those two extremes. We can get better at it with effort. Yet just because you work on building your character doesn't necessarily mean your SO will make the same journey. A partner with especially bad character will take that effort for granted. It will never be enough. You could walk on eggshells all week, but then someone cuts them off at an intersection, and you have to endure their curses. But I'm not yelling at you, they think is a good enough excuse. They are still being terrible company. Most people with weak character know how to keep focused and cool under pressure. They choose the situations where they can get away with venting. They'll work on improvement for a little while, but they'll always relapse and usually get worse. And they would rather get the upper hand than solve problems. It's easy to take a person with good character for granted because what they do seems effortless. Part of what they achieve is emotional maturity, but part of it takes real effort. All relationships take effort. Some are worth the effort and some are not. Figure out whether there's enough strength of character on both sides to be worth the effort you put in. A study of long-term relationships found that successful relationships have one major thing in common. The spouses are verbally supportive of each other's interests and thoughts. For example, if your spouse is very excited about Pokémon Go and wants to tell you all about the monsters they caught that day, the supportive spouse would listen to them talk about it and be excited for what they are excited about, even if they don't know how the game's played or think that it's stupid. The couple that's going to divorce, that other spouse would say I don't care, that game is for kids, or be generally dismissive of the conversation and change topics. Support what they are excited about as much as you can. Even if it's just listening with a smile on your face while you do a shopping list in your head. Without bypassing the obvious one, which is the importance of communication, my mother always told us that how you say something is as important as what you're saying. From the tone to how subject is approached or delivered can make the difference between opening a dialogue or having an argument. Another good one I've seen around Reddit, it's you, plural, versus the problem. Probably not gonna get this right, but it hit me the hardest after spending 5 years in a toxic relationship. The idea that everyone in their lives is working towards creating a jigsaw, each part of their life, be it work, relationships, or hobbies make up parts of the jigsaw. Everyone's is different. Some people's careers make up the edges, the less important and interesting parts. Some people's are their relationships. What's important is the center of the puzzle. That's what people are working towards. Their lives goals. When you're in a relationship, your puzzles combine. You eventually start working towards a shared goal. You might make some compromises on what goes to the outer edges, but you should both be working towards the same center. Occasionally, it turns out that the centerpiece you were working towards with your SO isn't what you thought it was. And believe me, it really does. But there's nothing wrong with cutting your losers. If you're going for a different jigsaw, and the pieces don't fit, you won't get a coherent picture. I hope I explained it right. And yes, it has been taken from Daniel Sloss. He puts it way better than I do, so I would recommend checking him out on Netflix.